what I'm working on right now is getting ready to drill the holes for my switches. And what I did is it'd be great if I had like a mill or some kind of a CNC machine, but I don't. And so I'm having to use just my drill press, and so it's just hard to get this real precise because there's just not a lot of play with these switches. These are, the holes are 22 millimeter diameter is what you need for these. And I bought a 23 millimeter hole saw, and so it gives me just a little bit of play. And I don't want too much play because these little flanges that go around the switches, they're not much bigger diameter, it's just under an inch. So there's not a lot of play. Like with gauges and things, you've got more play because the bezels, I guess bezel or flange, whatever you call it, want to call this, there's more play and it's bigger, and you can, I mean, you still want to get the holes close with gauges, but with these, I've got to be more careful. And so I was doing some tests. I did a test board and like this, and I was able to get them to work. And so now what I'm doing, probably hard to see, but I just marked where I'm going to drill the holes. And that cheapo hole saw I bought, a 23 millimeter one, it doesn't go, it only drills like a hole about 1/4 inch deep. I didn't pay attention to that when I bought it. And so what you have to do, or I'm going to go ahead and use it because it worked with this all right. I mean, you drill this side, and then I have to flip it over, and then drill some on this side, and then flip it back over, and then I have to get rid of the core with a smaller spade, but it's kind of a pain, but it actually works fine. But it's just more of a hassle. So I just marked these. Now this line, I don't know if you can see, there's a line here. When I had the dash in the boat, I made sure this line was vertical. And so that's where I want these to be, and spacing will be like this. So I'm kind of balancing. You know, there's not a lot of, this height here isn't super high, and I don't want it too close to the bottom, but I'm trying to balance all that. I want a little further down off center than being close to the top edge, because there's going to be some kind of, not this thick, but the decking will overhang, and then I'm not sure what I'm going to do with some kind of padding, and so I need to have a little bit of room up here, a little more room up here than down here. And this is the hole for the push button start. And so I just marked these, and now I got to put this up on my hole saw and get it held because it's the whole dash piece, so it's going to be, I've got to support the other side, and I mean, just like when I drill all these holes, but this I got to be, I'm trying to be a lot more precise, or even more precise. So I'll get this set up, and then we'll see how this goes. Okay, so the way that I do this is I've set this height wherever it's going to be, and then I measure the angle of that drill press plate, and then I measure this angle. Oops, hold on. I think I zeroed out. Just to make sure that it's flat. And so this angle is basically 0.8 degrees down, and what I do is I hold up this side and until the angle matches. That way I know it's flat, and so to the drill press. So now what I'm going to do is get it positioned right in my little guide hole where I use my punch, and I'll get this bit set, and once I do that, I'll clamp this down and then drill my hole. I'm going to start with this one, which is actually the bottom one, and then probably what I will do then is drill this one up here, and then I might clamp in a guide board to make sure that the center hole is at least lined up with those two, because these, I mean, as long as all three are lined up, I mean, I need them lined up as close as possible, and you know, if they're off slightly from vertical, you'll never notice that, but you'll notice if they're not lined up. Now again, I have a little play, but I need to be pretty close because like I said, I don't have a lot of play. So let me get this, actually I can just go ahead and do that now. The way that I do this, like I've done before, is I just have watch where that bit is going down and look for any slight movement, because if a bit, you know, the bit is shaped like this, and when you put the bit down, if you watch it, if it moves this way or this way, you can tell it's not centered in that little guide hole. Now again, a mill would be much better. I wouldn't have to do all this, just dial it in. But so what I've got is a cheapo drill press, but you can get really close. See, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing that bit go forward just a hair, which tells me the board is a little too far that way, so I just barely touch it. Too far. It's looking pretty good. Now this way. It looks pretty good to me. So what I'll do is I'll clamp this down and then I'll check it again. Now again, getting it this close, as close as you can this way manually like this, is going to be close enough for the little bit of margin I have. Being able to move those switches around, but problem with this kind of work, I call these scary holes, because once you drill, I mean, it's a one-shot deal. You get it right or it's wrong, and that's why I take my time and gotta make sure I'm getting where I want it. But this looks good, and you can see this cheapo hole saw doesn't, you know, it's not deep. I had bought, this is the type of hole saw I'd rather have, and when I bought that, I just wasn't paying attention because it's hard to find those. This is a 22 millimeter or 7/8. It's pretty real common, and I started with this, but I just realized that it didn't give me much in the way of play, and I know with my equipment and my abilities here, I need a little bit of margin so I can adjust a little bit. So. And there may be other ways to do it with setups like this. Somebody may comment on this video, but it's what I got, so we're good. And I noticed with this too, when I was using my test board, I mean, it kind of smokes a little bit, and I'm not using my dust collector because this doesn't make that much smoke. So yeah, doing something like this, you're going to get with a little bit of smoke sometimes. But part of that's probably because it's a cheapo hole saw too. A lot of friction down in there. Probably would be better if I was using my. Actually, I will do my dust collector. Suck that out as it's going. That'll help with the smoke, I think. That's as deep as it goes. You can see how they got dark because of what I was doing. It's bottoming out on that, so that's why my press kind of stops, so it's not great. But so what I will do is, and I have this bit set deep enough that it drilled that pilot hole on the other side, so I can just flip it over and drill from the other side. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, if you notice, I don't have a piece of wood in between this steel plate of my drill press and this. Now, if I was drilling all the way through with one style like this that can drill all in one, you would need to do that, otherwise you're going to hit your plate. Like if you watch my other videos, not that that's ever happened to me before. Yes, it has. But I don't need to with this, because there is a hole in the plate, so that this pilot bit just goes through the hole in the plate, but it's not big enough to, for a hole saw. So I'll flip this over, get it positioned, and I'll drill the other side. And then what I'll need to do is flip it back over, use a spade bit to cut out this core, and then I can continue on with this and drill the rest of the way. So kind of a painful process when you don't have a bit that can cut deep like this. So okay, so I've got this positioned. I did double check the angle. What I did, since there's a guide hole, while this was loose, I didn't have it clamped yet, I got this started in the hole, and then just spin this a little bit and let it pull the bore as it needed to, and then clamp this down, and that'll get me nice and close. Actually, that feels a little snug. Let me loosen it up. So that should be good. So we'll drill a little bit of this one, or as far as I know with this one, then we'll continue on. When I was positioning this, because this is the front face, I try not to slide it too much on here. I mean, I am going to sand it off before I stain it and everything, but I still don't want to scratch it up. So there is that. Now what I need to do is lower this plate down so I can fit a spade bit in there, and then I'll draw out the core on that front face. Keep going. One thing about doing it, actually drilling front and back with a hole saw anyway, is a good thing, because you don't get breakout when you punch through. So it is a decent technique if you don't want to, even if you had a hole saw that would go all the way through, it's a good idea to at least do a little bit of it from the back side so you don't get that punch out. All right, so ready with a spade bit. And one thing to know about my cheapo hole saw, hopefully I only need to drill 6 holes. It's a good thing, because it's probably going to get dull on me a little bit. But anyway, got the spade bit, my good spade bit, or my newer one. I'm using a 3/4. It's bent, so I don't know. So I had this older one, which is not bent. Take down just that core part, and hopefully I went far enough. Let me see. Yeah, looks like I did. And then what I'll do is I'll put my hole saw back in and reposition all this, and then should be able to drill the rest of the way. You do like a quarter inch. I don't know if it drills a quarter inch. I think it drilled a little deeper than that, but when I did my test ones, I was able to, this worked. So we'll, actually I could go a little deeper with this. I might do that. I'm gonna go just a little bit deeper here. There we go. Now you might wonder why I don't just use a spade bit for this whole thing. Well, one, I need 23 millimeters. Getting a 23 millimeter spade bit would be hard, but two, I want a nice clean hole, and hole saws, in my opinion, are the way to do that. Now with wood this nice, a spade bit probably would work, but you just never know. You get a chunk and stuff, so hole saws, in my opinion, again, are the way to go if you want nice clean holes like these. So, all right, I'll reset this up. Okay, ready to finish it here. And you have one nice clean hole. Switch just fits right in there, and there's just a little bit of play. So one down and 5 to go, because I got 2 more here, and then I'm going to do 3 here to the left of my zip weight controller. So I'll continue on and show you what it looks like when these are done. So I've got the 3 holes done now, and they are turned out really good, lined up good, and I did put, I'll show, looks like with the switches in here after a bit. But it's interesting because it's like these 2 are slightly closer than these 2, even though I was really careful, but it's not off enough that I don't have enough play, so it's fine. And so now I have marked these 3 here, and I'm about to drill those. And so these are to the left of my zip weight controller, which goes here. And so this is what I'm going to do next, is drill these out. All right, so I'm going to have to move my dust collector. Forgot about that. Just a moment. Okay. So now what I'm also going to have to do is move I will be able to drill them all. I was worried about the depth, this drill press depth there, but I'm going to need to move just a little bit. Enough to hold that up. There we go. Angle here. 0.8 down. 0.9 down. So I can adjust this just here. Okay. It's matching. Get that. Too far. Second, I'm gonna get, hold on. Can't see very good. I can. I think I'm being too picky here, but I need these to be as close as possible to where I want them, because like I mentioned before, I mean, I don't have a lot of margin to work with here, and if they're slightly crooked, the switches on the dash, human eyes can see just the most subtle crookedness. Okay, I think we're good there. Question is, can I do this? I should have had this temporarily up here before I was doing that. Check it one more time. See, it's off just a hair. Still off. Could use something to wrap on this, but okay, looks good. It's off this way. Ah. Actually, I'm gonna need to mark that better. Okay. What I did, my pencil mark, I didn't have a very good pencil mark here. When I punched the little hole, guide hole where I wanted this bit to go, which was fine, but then as I start lowering this down, it makes a little indentation in the wood, and then I kind of lose sight of where my mark is. So I made a pencil mark so I could see it better on the side. I did make a, you might say, well, why don't I drill a template out of something, guide holes like something like this. And I did do that with 1/4-inch holes, because this hole saw this other one that I had, which is a 22 millimeter, has a 1/4-inch guide bit. I'm like, well, and I would have just clamped this on and had this be the guide. Well, this hole saw the guide bit is less than a 1/4 inch, so I don't want to mess with that. If I was doing lots of these, yes, I would do something like that, but since I'm only doing 2 sets of 3, I'm just gonna manhandle it like this. So I think I'm in good shape now, and drill another one of these here. Actually, I should clamp this back here too. Hold on. There we go. So after all that setup, I realized that my main drill plate and my drill press is off center a little bit, so this bit is going to run into the plate. So I got to reset that. I'll be back. All right, let's try this again. And since I'd already started this hole, it was a lot easier to get this board in position. So that was nice at least. So now I won't drill into my plate. So as you can see, flipping this over, I'm not able to drill the back side of this because of the depth. So what I'm going to do is I'll drill these other two on top, and then I'll probably use my spade bit too and clear those out. We'll see. And then I'm going to have to move my drill press around so I can, I'm going to have to move things around so I can flip this drill from, like, flip it all the way this way somehow. So that'll be interesting. So I'll be working on all that and I'll come back here after a while. So I had a little issue as I was drilling these. Like a goober, I forgot a technique to use, like I did for these first 3. Because I drilled this one and the one farthest away when I did these others. And then I could put a guide board for drilling the center one to make sure they were lined up. Well, like a goober, I drilled this one and then I drilled this one. Then I started drilling this one, and this one, somehow it got off a little bit. So I had to, fortunately I saw it, but I was already starting to drill. So what I did is I lined edge of this guide block up with these 2 edges of these 2 holes, because this was too far that way. I mean, a little bit, but enough that I think it would have caused me problems. And So I clamped this on here to basically keep this from going that way, and I slowly went down because basically this pilot hole was off a little bit too. And I think, just based on what I'm seeing, I should be okay, but it's close. I mean, these are 23 millimeter diameter holes. Well, this one now is slightly oblong, I mean, just a little. But the diameter of that outer ring of the switch is a hair under an inch. So, I mean, you know, an inch is like 25 millimeters, something like that. I mean, 25.4 is an inch. I think it's slightly under that, or it is slightly under that. So I think it's gonna be okay, because otherwise this edge of this hole here on this side might show. But I think I'll be okay, because I can maneuver these and get them lined up. But anyway, I'm trying to be so careful, and then I kind of goof up, and then next thing you know, switches won't be aligned. So, and also this first hole, if you remember flipping the board over, I can't drill it, so I was thinking of flipping this over. I'm gonna go ahead and just keep going down through. I've got boards underneath. I'm just gonna drill that one all the way through. I'll have to use a spade bit at least one more time, so I can just keep going down. I'll probably have to do it twice. And the center one, I flipped the board over and did the backside like I did in these first three, and then I've got to continue on down from here. But this one, since it's off a little, the pilot hole, I did not want to just flip the board over and just drill where the pilot hole was, because it might be off a little bit, even though it should be, well, it might be slightly oblong. So I'm probably going to go ahead and drill this one all the way down from the top too. I got a board under here, so for breakout, hopefully it won't tear it up. It should be okay, but I'm just going to go nice and slow. So that's what's going on. I'll show you here after a bit once I get them done, and I'll put the switches in, and hopefully I can maneuver them around and make them lined up. I should be able to. So there we have it. These are the three. They gave me a little more trouble than these three over here, but they turned out good. There's just enough play that you can make sure they're lined up, and the gap in between them is very close. I didn't measure it, but super close. So I'm happy with it. I will double check the gaps, but I'm pretty sure that they're so close. And same with over here. So yeah, I'm excited to get these drilled. These were some of the trickiest ones, probably the trickiest ones in the dash to do, just because there's no margin, or very little. So, and these are the ones I'm going to have over here. I plan on having horn on the top here, blower, and then the cockpit lighting. And then on this side, I've got two bilge. I'll have the forward bilge and the aft bilge, and then my navigation lights, which will include the anchor, navigation lights, anchor lights, and all the gauge lights will just run off this one switch. So, well, so it's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'll put these switches in, and I'll put the dash in, and then find out how I need to modify the deck beam that's behind it to be able to fit these, because these things stick out like that, stick out somewhat. So I'm going to have to be doing some kind of drilling. And so that'll be the next step. One thing that I didn't mention is, remember for this one I clamped on a guide board to help push that hole saw over. Well, what was happening is it was just making a little channel on the side of the guide board, so I ended up using a piece of aluminum plate, and that worked a little bit better, and to help hold it. So I was able to kind of squeeze that one over. Actually, it was this one, I think, because everything was flipped around. But anyway, I was able to get it to get more in line, and yeah, and it's close to seeing the edge of that hole. actually. As I look at it, I might be seeing it right now. Maybe not. Oh, it's right on that hairy edge. So what I may try to do, actually, yeah, you can see that edge right there. So I may try to get these to scooch over this way, or scooch over just this way just a little bit. But anyway, that's something that I'll finagle it a little bit. Hopefully I can get those to go in line better. But anyway, so yeah, I had to use this. And you probably noticed too, a couple times when my drill press just stopped, where I was getting a little too much, it was binding up that hole saw. I found out that, I didn't realize it, but there was some material that was getting caked up in here, so I wasn't able to cut very deep, and it was binding up, and plus my the belt on my drill press is old, so that didn't help either. But anyway, I got them drilled, got them in, and so we'll move forward. So as far as the back, I mentioned how these stick out. Well, actually the connectors stick out even more, and then the wires obviously are more. So I have to see how I want to deal with that with the deck beam behind there. One thought I had is I was gonna maybe zip tie these so they would just go in a hole, so I didn't have to cut a whole slot. And that deck beam for all three, it'd be nice if it could just go in a hole, so I'd have 3 holes in that deck beam, but I'll see if that's going to work. It may not. I may end up having just to have a whole slot, which I really don't want to do, but I guess I'll have to see what's going to work.